What are you strong at? Where are you weak at? Where do I have an opportunity? And what's possibly holding me back?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. As always, I'm your host, Smike. Eddie is not with me today, but in place of Eddie, I have someone much cooler, someone much better. I have Jake Hoyle from FitView. He has been a partner with us for, how long?
It's been over a year now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we just celebrated a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least 18 months.
Yeah,
so it's been a great journey. Yeah.
For sure. And what Jake has done for us here at the office is just, at least for me, I can speak for my experience, has just been like incredible. The way he basically he came in, set us straight basically in our eating habits and fitness habits, and obviously, when you have a healthy body, that helps your mental and everything.
100%.
So it's all full circle.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the goal when we came in, is just kind of meeting you guys where you were at. Because when we talk about wellness, it's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
It's a big topic with a lot of rabbit holes. And
sure.
I think that wellness looks different to each individual. And you guys have such a diverse and awesome group here. And having their wellness goals specified to their specific needs was really important. And I think we've been really successful in doing that. So,
I would definitely agree.
And we're honored to be a part of the team. So thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so the beauty of it, some people might be listening right now and thinking, oh, like what's a fitness guy doing on a law firm marketing podcast, right? But the beauty of it is that you are an entrepreneur. Right. You're a successful entrepreneur. You've had a journey through the whole ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Right. And when it comes down to it, for these law firm owners, they are entrepreneurs themselves. They are small business owners. If they took it over, whatever the case may be. Right. And so I am confident that they can learn a whole lot from your experience. So
awesome.
Yeah. I think the best place is just to start day one. Like what was your motivation, your drive to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
And so that's the thing. I'll kind of start off with like who we are now and how we started, kind of the origins of FitView. Yeah. So what we are, who we are, we're more of a private coaching facility. I tell people that I quit being a personal trainer many years ago. I started being a coach because I had a lot of good revelations, good mentors, and life experiences that helped shape the way I approach my title and kind of the skills, knowledge, and ability that I'm able to provide to our clients. But the origins of FitView was very humbling. So kind of what we're dealing with today, a recession. My father worked for a place called Daimler Corporation. I was fresh out of high school, not tooting my own horn, but I was a pretty good student athlete. And I had the opportunity to go play ball at what was considered a junior college at the time, University of North Carolina, Pembroke. They, at that time, did not have a program together. They were rebuilding it since 1945, and they were trying to bring it back in 08, 09. The only problem with that was, with it being a new program, they didn't have the funding. So trying to get athlete dorms built, trying to get all that to make it like a legitimate program, it was going to take some time and some investment. I was a blue-collar kid, grew up with a dad who was a mechanic, hardworking guy. But when the recession hit, the automotive industry at that time really took a hit, and he unfortunately lost his job. Very life-changing circumstances for me and my family. I have two brothers. We're all 3 years apart. So during that time, man, that time as a young man and as a kid, you think, this is my dream. I'm going to go and live out my dream, playing ball and continuing my career as a student athlete. For that to really change overnight. Ultimately, we just couldn't afford to go. And what it led me doing was following my other passion, which was fitness. And being able to, some of the worst times of my life, you dealing with depression, dealing with adversity, you see all your buddies who aren't in that circumstance that you're living, going off to college, the girl you're dating at the time and all that, going off to college. And you have to stay home and figure it out. And it's like, okay, you have established business persons at that time who are now having to take grocery store jobs because the economy's bad. No one's buying, no one's investing. So it was a very humbling experience. And really the only place willing to take a chance on me was Caramount Health. I started off as a janitor. I started off as a housekeeper. My title there was heavy duty housekeeping. So I started off there, and I was able to, work my way up. I met some really awesome people. During that time, I continued to stay fit, stay active, stayed in the gym, just more so because it helped me with my stress. And I was able to use what I knew as a student athlete and continue that journey. Mm-hmm. And people would always pick my brain like, man, how do you do this? What do I do to get in shape? Or, you have a pretty decent build to you. Not now. I'm a dad now, so it's a different story.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, it's trying to fight dad bod. But at that time, I was in pretty decent shape. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of people constantly asking, what are you doing? What can I do? And just through that experience, I was able to get re-educated, had good mentors, and worked my way up to what I'm doing now.
Wow.
And before FitView was FitView, I was actually Busy Bodies Mobile Fitness.
Busy Bodies.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool story too.
When you mentioned that you were a janitor there, for a second I thought it was going to be kind of like a Goodwill Hunting kind of story, where you just kind of go in and then you show all the fitness trainers, hey, this is the proper way to do things or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But I feel like when you face that kind of level of adversity at a young age, that really tends to shape you, and
it does.
Unfortunately, it does shape people in the wrong way. They tend to get a hardened heart, or tend to view things like, oh, like everything's bad now, and this is life. But I
think a lot of it too is never quit on yourself. That's something that I learned during that time. And, I don't normally flex, faith and religion on people, but that had a lot to do with me getting through those times. It really did. And also like believing in myself. Like my confidence when I started to now, completely different night and day. I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I'm very resilient. And I learned that, even though it seems really bad, when you get through it, you're like, hey, I can handle that now. Like if that happens again, if something like that, if I was to be put in that situation again, I'm resilient, I'm tough, I can handle it. It's okay to do hard things. And I'm able to now take that experience and give it to the clients I currently serve. And it's, they feel good about what they're doing because they are leaving with more than just a good workout. They're leaving with like a greater level of self-purpose and self-confidence.
Yeah. So I feel like it's a healthy confidence, right? Like, it's not an over prideful in a way.
Correct.
Confidence. Like I watch a lot of entrepreneurs on social media, and 9 times out of 10 they say exactly what you say, where it's like, hey, if I lost it all today and I had to restart, like knowing what I know now and how I feel about myself now and all that, I could do it again.
More equipped. I'm more equipped. And those experiences, and I tell you, the failures, it's not really a failure. It is a learning lesson. It's the most cliche thing. You hear it all the time. Yeah. But you have learned a lot. I've learned what works. Yeah. I've learned a lot of what doesn't work, and specific to my industry. And I've learned that, hey, be authentic. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur is, people know if you're being gimmicky. People know if like you're just trying to make a sale. But like, honestly, the greatest relationships, most impactful relationships, and longest lasting business relationships I've made with clients, their families and friends, is me just being who I am.
Yeah.
Letting them know like, hey, legitimately, this is what we can do. Here's how we can help you. And then giving a personal experience to that versus like, people will feel kind of like what you and I talked about before doing this podcast is, we don't want it to be robotic or like an interview. Like people really reside with authenticity.
No, absolutely. It's huge. And that's something that we preach heavily to our audiences. I mean, especially when you're in the legal industry, people are coming to you with problems. Like that's just that you're a problem solver in the legal industry, and so as long as you're authentic, and like you said, people have a BS meter. They can tell. Right, They can tell when you're not in it for the right reasons. Right. When you're faking it to make it kind of thing. Like it's so apparent.
Well, too, it also, if I may say this, you see who's really passionate about what they do.
And I think
shows. Compassion and passion for what you're doing really shows in your work.
Yeah.
And it's kind of also a cliche to say this, but if you're really passionate about what you do, you don't have to worry about the money. There's going to come a point where you're established and your name's out there and people know you and you have a track record of like, hey, I've been able to help these amount of people do this thing, and testimonies are great, right? But word of mouth and the people that you really give your all to and you're passionate when you help them, that speaks volumes.
Oh yeah,
I think that's one of the greatest contributors to our success anyway. Just being authentic, being passionate. Well, I've never lost my passion for it, man. I wake up every day, I love it. I mean, just like with anything else, you're gonna have long days,
sure,
but I've never not been passionate about what I do.
Yeah. Is there has there been any points where you've kind of felt, not that you lost your passion, but that your drive was like lower than say like the day before?
Oh yeah. So again, I started this when I was 18. I'm about to be 36.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for a while. And during that journey, a lot of personal life circumstances changed. I became a dad. I'm married to a wonderful woman, April, and my 2 sons, Maddox and Micah. And regiment and like the grind is different now that I'm a father. And you have a lot of entrepreneurs out here, they're fighting kind of the double-edged sword where it's like, how do I create this balance? I got to make enough to support the family. I'm taking a huge risk. That's what an entrepreneur is. You're a risk taker. And you're going to question yourself. Am I doing the right things? Should I just go be an employee and all that? And really it boils down to, you have to do what I call a SWOT analysis. Anyone who's maybe in legal or business, it's your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And just like I give you guys when I meet with y'all, like what are you strong at? Where are you weak at? Where do I have an opportunity? And what's possibly holding me back? When we do a self-analysis, that threat is what's holding me back, and it's usually self-limiting doubts and self-limiting beliefs. So you got to have that inner conversation with yourself and say, okay, why do I feel like this? What do I need to prioritize? And that's usually what it is we have this idea that we have to have it all figured out tomorrow. Listen, man, it took me almost 6 years to get it going the way I want. I'm about to be on year 16.
Yeah.
So the first 6-7 years, I was still molding and crafting and figuring out how I wanted this thing to look. And we're still trying to improve. Yeah. And it's an ever evolving thing. But that's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur. You got to stay connected and understand that things are going to change, and you have to see what's new, what's trending. That's where you guys come in as a huge blessing for people like myself and other businesses, being able to team up with a marketing firm. Like, hey, I have limited time in my day. Yeah. You guys are the experts in that. Let me team up with you and understand. So getting a little off tangent there, but
hey, I always appreciate that little plug right there.
Yeah, well, it's the stresses change. The more that you are established, the more customer base that you build, you have to expect that you're going to have to learn to delegate and deal with more. And if you're in the captain's chair, you can't do it all. You need to recruit well. And I think sometimes overwhelm is a thing that would probably make you question yourself. It's like, man, I'm overwhelmed. Why am I trying to do all this by myself? But having faith in your team and making sure your team aligns with your vision. That's huge.
So let's I know we mentioned a couple of cliches there, but I like to say that cliches are cliches for a reason, right? Because they're things that are just true throughout life, right? Like it's, we talk about, learning from your failures. Well, yeah, because that's life.
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a cliche because it's life. Yeah. So for those law firm owners who are just starting out, right? They just opened up their firm. They took that leap of faith. For you, let's talk about busybodies.
Yeah.
So what would happen with busybodies to, why is it FitView now and it was busybodies?
Yeah, sure, man. And I know I have a tendency to get ahead of myself because I'm passionate, man. I like kind of go with it and run.
I love the energy here.
But when so back in 08, 09, I was in a housekeeping. Had a guy there, Byron Matthews. Hopefully he'll see this. We still stay connected. But he had so much tenure in that department at that time. And there was an opening in the emergency department for what was called a transporter. And I was like, well, what is that? That sounds intriguing. Basically you just become an orderly and you take patients from the ER to x-ray, where they're having like their diagnostics done, their x-ray, ultrasound, MRI.
Gotcha.
And you basically just hustle clients back and forth. I mean, minimal requirement. Yeah, I'm
Sure.
in shape.
Yeah.
I can move, I can move people, heavy people. I can do that. So I go and I apply for the job. And he's like, look, man, I don't want to apply for it because if I do, I'm going to lose my tenure in this department. I'm basically starting over. Like, you've been here a year, dude. Go do it.
Yeah.
So funny story, I walk up and my manager at the time, our charge nurse, Jody Cook, was in there. I showed up in my housekeeping uniform. She literally thought I was there to empty her trash. So she like gives me her trash can. I was like, hey, I'll empty this, but I'm actually here to ask you about the job opening, about this transporter deal. She was like, oh yeah, put your name in the system. We'll look for you. 2 weeks later, they call me in, do the interview. I got the job.
Nice.
But the cool thing, kind of where the faith thing ties in, is I'm beating myself up, man. I'm like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm comparing myself, and I'm sure a lot of like new business owners do this too. You're comparing yourself to where others are. Why am I not there yet? I was doing that during that time. It's like, man, all of my friends, my buddies, everyone's going off to college, all this stuff. But then I thought, man, wow, how crazy is this? I am in the place around people, doctors specifically, who know the human body better than anybody. Like, this is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So when you feel like things are not going good, look at it as an opportunity. Like, I can learn from these folks. And just being transparent, I aggravated the hell out of them. Like, I would walk around with a notepad. My circumstances financially at the time, I'm trying to help my dad pay bills. I'm trying to make a way for myself. How do I go back to school? I know I got to get certified to do this stuff. There's legalities in our business too. You can't just, a lot of people walk around and say they're a coach, but you got to do it the right way. But I'm asking them, like, if I want to learn about the skeletal muscle system, like, what classes do I need to take? What anatomy classes can I register with? And that's literally how I started, man. I started going to one class at a time, working 2 jobs, grinding. Everyone that I was connected with at that time is living a completely different life. They're out, doing the college thing, not knocking on them, man. They're blessed to be able to do that. But my path was different.
Sure.
I disappeared for a little bit, because I was doing all that. Well, then finally I had enough credentials and stuff and enough behind my name that, hey, I'm going to go out and start a business. So it came to me like, I want to be different. I want to go and meet people at their homes. I don't have a brick and mortar at the moment. I don't have gym equipment. Again, I'm a 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I got on Craigslist. This is before we had Facebook Marketplace and all the bells and whistles of today. I would find old used gym equipment. I'd pack it in my 92 Toyota Celica, and I would just go around Belmont, Mount Holly, Gastonia, meeting people. Luckily, I was a pretty likable guy in my youth. So I was connected in some of those communities. People were like, yeah, come over, train me, man. I've been wanting to work out with you for a while. But I remember also like going out to someone's house at 5:30 on a Friday night. They completely forgot they booked with me, and I then drove over across town, and they're heading out to eat. Like, oh man, we forgot that we were seeing you today. So all those little things that at the time are really annoying, aggravating, like makes you question, what am I doing this for? But you can look back at it now after you've put in the time, the work, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, and you can say, yeah, man, I really appreciate that. And those circumstances do come back and help you. COVID.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and the gyms, our industry, got shut down. I'm like, I knew how to pivot because that's how I started. So the blessing is I'm familiar with this. Yeah. I can go back and do that. I can be resilient.
Wow. So. Yeah. So in terms of where Busybodies went, and like why it became FitView, like what was the transition there?
And I meant to follow up with that. So Busybodies was the thing that, the gimmick was, you're too busy to make it to the gym. You're too busy to set up time. We'll bring the gym to you.
Smart.
It was a great idea. Logistically, it was a failure.
I can see how that might.
Plus, I was 18, 19 years old when all that was happening. So, if you're trying to book a 30-minute session and you wrap them up, and then now you got to drive, 20 miles away, you're getting 485 traffic, you're getting 85 south traffic. You wind up comping a lot of free service, so you can't really build a business like that. Learned a lot of lessons with it, but wasn't successful, wasn't the best strategy for building the business. During that time, I still kept my hospital job, and I was able to link up with some really good mentors and folks who believed in me, and really successful clients who were running businesses too. So I'd always kind of pick their brain, and I learned a lot about branding. And it's like, okay, I really need people to come to me. And the brick and mortar probably isn't for everybody in my industry, but it's worked really well for us because we've been able to differentiate. And I was like, you want to view people seeing themselves as a fitter version. And that's where the name came from, FitView. It just kind of came to me.
It all makes sense.
So I rebranded. I rebranded in 2010 and then became an LLC with FitView. And ever since then, we've just been really focusing in on personalization, customized planning. We did that's our product differentiation. Is we're not the 24-hour gym, nothing against them, but people come to us for a coaching focused plan, and we're able to really differentiate and tell them that's what we offer. There's a greater value with it, which is kind of what I would piggyback on and say next is, what are the key points that you're explaining that you're going to add? How do you plan to add value, and what can you do differently? Because there's a million trainers out there, there's a million lawyers out there, but how are you different?
Yeah.
And I think that with our content, the way that we're able to deliver on our promises, people testify to that and say that, hey, I went to FitView for these reasons.
Yeah. I think a lot of time, are you familiar with Simon Sinek?
Yes.
So he has a book that I had listened to, I want to say last year. It was called Start With Why.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I mean that resonates like through and through with me because I'm in marketing, but my favorite part about marketing is psychology of marketing. I like the things that drive people to make decisions, drive people to engage with content on social media. Right. So for a business owner, for a law firm owner, the why, I'm sure, is incredibly important, and that probably drives your differentiating factors. Right. So talk about your why.
So there's two. There's a personal why, and then there's definitely the business why. I'll start with the business why. The business why for me was, if you're really trying to make a career out of what you're doing, and this is the elephant in the room that we have to address. You have to make money doing what you do.
Yeah.
At that time, I had such a diverse clientele. I'm training student athletes. I'm training people that were post-operation because I had experience working in rehabilitation. I had clients that are nutrition clients. I had all like a smorgasbord, if you will, of clientele. And it's like, what is really benefiting the business? I need to focus in on that. And, we learned that it was the 35 and older. These are the folks that really are kind of meet the wheelhouse of skills that we offer. And so we decided to really we help as whoever comes up. If we're a good fit, we'll help them. But that's kind of where we targeted because we knew that, one, their rate of consistency is going to be greater. Two, they have the means to pay you for the service.
Sure.
And so what can we offer them? What are the things that they're interested in? Mobility work, stretching, flexibility, personalized nutrition, those types of things. So at a younger age, early in my career, I was able to really figure that out kind of early on. And through the help of some successful entrepreneurs who happen to be clients, like, hey, it might be a good idea for you to like we're only interested in this. And then you do the math, like, okay, well, the people who are what you call your affluent clients are the ones paying that. So why not make that your baby? Take care of the baby. So, and then the personal why for me is seeing how I started. Especially since I met my wife, she's an amazing woman, and my kids, I wanted to give them, and I think this is the heart of every entrepreneur who might be a parent. You want to give your family a better life than you had. And I wake up every day with the vision that I'm still in that Toyota Celica going house to house. I've never lost that drive. Yeah. And, people, I get really passionate when I talk about that, but I wake up each day, and of course it might be a long day, but like 4:35, I'm heading to my facility. I'm like, dude, what a blessing, because I remember packing myself into that little car. And, I couldn't even afford a battle rope at the time. I had to go to a firehouse and ask them to use an old fire hose.
Wow.
But, you give me lemons, I'm going to make lemonade.
Yeah. Let's talk real quick, because obviously I would love to have your input here on this podcast, because our audience is obviously law firm owners, lawyers, and in that industry, they struggle greatly with mental health issues.
100%.
And we did an episode a while back. It was just Eddie and I, and we kind of touched on it. But I would love for you to kind of just talk about the actual correlation between your physical health and what it does for your mental, and why lawyers should probably spend some time.
There's the science-based side of that that I think is really important for people to understand. Is that when you do physical work, your body releases endorphins. Endorphins combat cortisol, which is your stress hormone. Physical fitness is such a foundation for everything in your life to get better. I mean, when I see somebody who's physically fit, it's not just about the vanity, but if you really dive deep into their life and you see how they live, people who are physically fit are disciplined in all avenues of their life. In my personal experience with it, but also the people that I deal with, their personal and professional relationships are good. Their finances are intact. They carry themselves with a certain swag or confidence. Again, not being arrogant or cocky, but
sure.
They approach every situation better. It can even be a bad situation, but they're confident going into it. So I would argue that there's a lot of studies and metadata out there proving that like the benefits of exercise for approaching a situation that's non-desirable. Like you can get through it so much easier. But physical fitness for me and for the clients that I have has helped them in so many ways, more than just going to their doctor and getting a thumbs up and saying, hey, your blood work's better, your BMI is better. Like their relationships are better. They're more active with their family, their kids, their employees get the best version of them. And this is something you and I have even talked about. Like for me, being a busy entrepreneur, I run 2 companies now. And I know that my online clients, we serve people worldwide. It's different time zones. Like I have to be fit to be able to handle that workload.
Sure.
But also I look at my exercise and my approach to that as it's a meeting with the boss. The boss doesn't miss a meeting. And if I continuously put myself on the back burner, which many entrepreneurs do, if it's a way to put the yardstick forward, we will sacrifice our personal needs. And I don't agree with that. I feel like if I really take time to do my exercise and get fit and relieve my stress, everybody that I'm responsible for and who depends on me gets the best version of me. If I continuously negate that and I put myself on the back burner, you guys are going to get the burnt out, tired, pissed off, hangry version of me. And that's not a good place to be. And that's not a good way to run your company. It's not a good way to build relationships.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. It's okay to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Love it. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to give the audience here?
Yeah, man. I mean, follow your heart, be authentic, be resilient. Stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to expect that. You can allow your situations to mold you or fold you. You have a choice. And for me, I think that you have to do that SWOT. We talked about that SWOT analysis. Do a personal SWOT on yourself. If you're feeling anxious about something and it's not working out, look at where you have opportunities, focus in on those threats, and try to make that better for you by working on your weaknesses and maybe start some exercise. It never hurts.
Awesome. Where can the audience find you? Yeah,
man. So we're FitView Wellness in Louisville, North Carolina. We're located at 117 West 1st Street in Louisville. We're between Mount Holly and Charlotte. Our number is 980-241-4968, and you can find us on Google, FitView Wellness LLC.
Cool. I'll put in the description for this podcast, I'll put some links for people to click on.
To be here, man. I really enjoyed it.
No, this is awesome. Appreciate you, Jake. For everyone out there listening, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week.